Today on The Joy of Editing, I'm pulling out TOPAZ Studio 2, my creative toolbox. This is episode number 59. I'll be taking a photograph of a cute little squirrel and turning it into a painterly image. I'm your host, Dave Kelly. Stay tuned. Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. Thanks for joining me today. Today I'm pulling out TOPAZ Studio 2, which I like to refer to as my creative toolbox. I'll be using this photograph of a cute little squirrel, which I got off Adobe Stock. It's a free stock image. And by the way, if you have the Adobe photography plan, Photoshop and Lightroom, you can access the Adobe Stock and Marketplace. It's a great resource to find some free stock images to turn into digital art using TOPAZ Studio 2. All you need to do is open up your Creative Cloud app and click on Stock and Marketplace and click on Free, and then there's a search field up here. You can search and you can find all kind of things up there, all kind of free stock images, and there's a lot of really cool stuff up there. It's a great resource, as I said, if you want to turn some photographs into some really cool digital art using TOPAZ Studio 2. I'm not associated with Adobe in any way, but I just wanted to let you know there's some really cool free resources for you if you have Adobe Photoshop and Lightroom and the photography plan. This tutorial is going to be quick and easy, not much to this at all, but you're going to get a great result. Now, the first thing I like to do is duplicate my background layer so I'm not working on the background layer, and you could do a Command or Control J to do that, or if you have the TK8 plugin for Photoshop, you can click this button right here and duplicate your background layer. And then you could send this right into TOPAZ Studio 2. To do that, come up to Photoshop's menu, click Filter, and find TOPAZ Studio 2. Click on it, and that launches TOPAZ Studio 2. And now here we are in TOPAZ Studio 2. I'm using only two filters, so come up to Add Filter and come down to Impression. It's in the Stylistic section, and it's probably my favorite filter in here. So click Impression. There's a bunch of cool stuff in TOPAZ Studio, by the way. And click on the second brush type. You have all these different brush types in here, and you can click on these and try them out. But I like type 02 the best. Already it looks pretty cool. Then you have number of strokes, low, medium, or high. And I tested these out. If you click on low, it's going to be more of an abstract look. Medium, a little more detail, and high, a lot more detail. So depending what you want, but I like medium. I think it's good. There's a whole bunch of adjustments in here, and I'm not touching any of these. Like I said, this is quick and easy. I have other tutorials where I show you how I work with these different adjustments, but this image did not require anything, so it was really quick and easy. So I'm going to come down to texture and open up texture by clicking right there. And what I want to do is, first off, you see these little splotches in here. I don't want those. That's some of the background showing through. Like in a painting, you would have canvas showing through if you didn't paint over certain areas. So you can simulate that. I'm just going to click on original, and those little dots all go away. But I'm going to use a texture because I think a texture really helps this out. I'm going to use this canvas number 1. So I'm going to click on that, and you don't see anything here yet, but I'm going to take this texture strength and pull this up. And you see that texture starting to go in there, which I think really looks really cool in this image. So I like that little granular look I'm getting with that texture in there. And that's all I'm going to do here. And then I'm going to use one more filter. So we're going to come up here and click on Add Filter, and I'm going to use one of my favorites, Precision Detail, and another favorite is Precision Contrast, but I'll just be using Precision Detail, so I'll click on this. And this is nice because we can go ahead and adjust detail. Overall details, just detail in the shadow or just detail in the highlights. I'm just using overall detail. I'll work with small, medium, and large. I'll start out with small. I'm going to just drag this up to, say, right about here. But you see how it really pops the smaller areas of detail out. We can really see the texture popping through there. Now we're going to go to medium. I'll start dragging this to the right. By the way, if you drag it to the left, you'll decrease detail. So you can either decrease detail or increase detail. 0 is the center point. So to the left would decrease, to the right would increase. So I'm going to increase this to somewhere right around here. I don't want to go too crazy, but you see that little extra detail in there. And now we're going to go to large detail, and I'm going to start to drag this to the right. And I'm going to stop at, somewhere right around here, like 28. And there's also detail boosts for each one of these. I don't use that too often, but it's there if you need a little bit more. But then here's an eye right here that you can click. You can see before, and then if you click again, you can see after, but you see how that nice detail pops in there. Now, if you notice, as soon as I click that eye, that collapsed this group. So I'll just click on it again. We'll open it back up because there's some more controls in here, and that is lighting. So we can work with the midtones, shadows, highlights, black point, and white point. I'll start with midtones. I just want to open up the midtones a bit. So I'm just going to drag this to the right to somewhere right about here. Looks good. So that lightens up those midtones a little bit. I'm going to take the shadows and darken up the shadows. If I drag this to the left, it'll darken. Drag it to the right, it'll open the shadows up. So I'm just going to drag it to the left to say right about here. And I'm just going to pull back on the highlights just a little bit. Let's come back to right here, I think is good. And I'll darken up the blacks just a bit. So I'm going to take this, we're actually more than a bit. I'm going to take it right over to here, -62. So all those little dark areas come out, which really helps out on the contrast. Here's another little tip for you. If you left click on the canvas and hold down, you'll see here's the before, the cute little photograph of the squirrel, and here's the after. Now we've turned it into a painterly image. And there's one final thing I want to do. I told you this was quick and easy. I'm going to go back to impression. Because impression, we have a whole bunch of other things we can do in here. You can work with color, lighting, and I did show you texture already, but I'm not going to mess with color. I'm just going to go to lighting. There's vignetting in here. See right here where it says vignette. Now I'm just going to drag this to the right a little bit, and you notice two other sliders popped up here. There's actually more underneath that if I drag down. And then you could place that vignette anywhere you want on the canvas. See that? You can drag this dot around, or you can click on this locator and choose a different location. But I'm going to leave it right in the center. And I just want to darken up the vignette a little bit on the edges. Not much, just a tiny wee bit. Okay? Now here's my overall before, and here is my after. And that is basically it. Now all I need to do is send this back into Photoshop. And to do that, just click accept, and that'll send this back into Photoshop. And here we are in Photoshop. And we can see here is the before. If I click this eye, there's the before, and there is the after. Now, if I wanted this a little bit lighter, I could go ahead and add, say, like a curves adjustment to it, and just pull up in the mid-tone, just the slightest little amount, just to increase that mid-tone just a little wee bit. Here's the before and here's the after. But there it is, everyone. And so that was an example of how quickly you can work inside of TOPAZ Studio 2. Now, if you want to see a bunch of other videos, this is my 59th Creative Toolbox video. So there's a playlist on my YouTube channel. Click on that, and you're going to find 58 other TOPAZ Studio 2 Creative Toolbox videos. Lots of good information there, so check those out. Hey, if you enjoyed the tutorial today, please give it a like and share it with your friends. And if you're not yet a subscriber to my channel, please subscribe and click that bell notification icon. And then every time I upload a new tutorial, you'll get notified. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me today in The Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. And I will see you all right here next time. But until then, happy editing!